Hey everyone, my name is Ryan Johnson. I am the Director of Investor Relations for Gen Wealth Capital Group, and today we're going to present a quick webinar on a deal that we recently just sold in October. It is named the Flats at 2030. This is the deep dive into that deal. And when I first got into real estate investing 6 years ago, I read all the books, watched all the podcasts, did all that thing, but those are just kind of more theoretical knowledges and examples. I always sought out like real deals, like let me meet someone that actually did a deal and took it from start to finish and had a success, and let me like look at the numbers, understand the business plan, and that really helped me to grow my knowledge base. So today we figured to go ahead and present this to you as more of a case study style. We're going to kind of dive into the business plan, why we purchased the asset, with the challenges that we had, and then the results at the end. So I hope you enjoy. You can use the Q&A. If you have any questions, we'll address them at the end of the webinar. Okay, so just a quick rundown of our team here. As like I said, my name is Ryan. I'm the Director of Investor Relations. We're all based in Houston, Texas. I got my partner Juan Vargas here. You can introduce yourself, bud.
Thanks, Ryan. Yeah, Juan Vargas here. I got started in real estate actually in 2015 with some single family. In 2016, I jumped into multifamily. My wife and I did a 36 unit. We're able to successfully take that project full cycle and get into larger projects from there. My role with Gen Wealth Capital is more on the acquisitions side with broker relations. Asset management as well, and just overall strategy, and with the experience that I've had, with the various deals that I've been a part of, and happy to have you guys here and join us on the webinar. Thank you so much.
Yeah, then we have another partner also at the firm as Brian Ponau. He's out of town, so he couldn't make it, but he leads the underwriting department. He's the finance guy. He's the spreadsheet guy. So we're missing him tonight, but he's going to check out the recording for sure. Company highlights. Like I said, we're Houston based. At this moment, we're only operating in Texas since this Phoenix exit, especially Houston and Austin. Over the last 6 years combined, we have about a transaction volume of about $120 million, 680 units transacted since 2016. We're in Austin and Houston only right now, but we exited a deal earlier this year in DFW as well as Phoenix. And we have a 5 full cycle deals as either the lead sponsor or the JV sponsor. And full cycle deals are important because, when you buy a 200 unit apartment complex, it's hard to buy it, it's hard to run it, and sometimes it's hard to sell it. And you're going to have challenges in each phases of these deals. And to have a team that has experienced challenges within these 4 phases of a deal is very important. And we specialize in B and C workforce housing assets in Texas markets. So yeah, Juan, I'll let you take it from here.
Yeah, thank you. So this is a deal called the Flats at 2030, based in Phoenix, Arizona. And you may be wondering, you guys are based in Houston. Why are you guys looking outside your market? Well, for multiple reasons, right? We always like to look for resident profile. We like to look for population growth. We like to look for business-friendly environment. Rent growth. There's various different aspects to a market that we like to look for. Phoenix checked those boxes for us. Therefore, we built some broker relationships there, and we're able to come across this property off market. It was actually owned by a family that had been owning for 14 years, and so the area itself was more of a C-class area. What we liked about the area, though, was nearby, about a mile away, there were some new development going on, and with office space and other multifamily properties. So we felt that it was in the path of progress actually, and it was something that we liked, and we were able to negotiate it and get it for $70,000 a unit, which at that time was a little bit below the market average price per unit. And another aspect of the property and the deal itself was that the majority of the residents were housing residents. So either through Section 8, some kind of government program, they were older residents, a lot of seniors, and one of the business plan aspects was to really retenant the profile and get more of a younger profile, a profile that can afford more rent.
Okay, so there, you told me why you like the market and why you like the deal. Is there anything that kind of gave you some hesitancy about it? Every deal, not every deal is perfect. There's going to be a lot of what ifs in every deal. And so what was your hesitancy before, making an offer and purchasing this property?
Yeah, I think, first of all, there's for every single deal out there, there's pros and cons, right? Even if you're buying a deal in the best part of town, then you can argue that you're maybe overpaying for the property or whatnot. Every property is going to have its challenges. This one had its challenges as well. From the very beginning, what we didn't like was maybe the fact that it had flat roofs versus pitch roofs, right? Another one was it had a chiller system versus your conventional HVAC system that you're used to seeing in single family homes. And then the fact that it had a majority senior housing residents. So a few things there. It was a C-class area as well. So typically we like to look at a B-class area. This is more of a C-class area, but we liked it because of the progress, path of progress that was in with the new development that was going on around the immediate area.
Okay. So, we get these deals sent to us weekly from brokers, and, not every deal is going to be a good deal. Not to say that it's not a good deal for the next group. Maybe it's just not a good deal for us. And so when we get these deals sent to us, they go through like an initial screening process, and we try to knock them down real quick and just say yay or nay. We're going to advance this to the next level. It may go through like multiple stages of like some type of financial analysis. Eventually, we need to get like vendors on board, such as as it kind of gets deeper into the process to help us, develop a business plan. And we come up with a business plan, whether it's a more efficient management, whether it's renovations of some sort. It's definitely going to include some type of financing or exit strategy. So, what was your business plan, as you were looking at this deal and as you had it under contract?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, as you see here on the left slide, I mean, fee income, that's always one of the items that we want to address and increase. Fee income, consists of RUBS. RUBS is basically utility bill back, right? So, in this property, what we liked about it as well was the potential to bill back the residents for the utilities that they use at the property, right? It was an all bills paid property. We felt that was a significant improvement to our income right away. Pet income, that's another one that you can add. Valet. I mean, there's so many different income sources that we were able to take advantage of, and we'll get into those a little bit more into the next slides. Retenanting the demographics, as I mentioned in the previous slide. Going from the senior housing type of a resident profile to more of your younger profile that's a young professional that can afford more rent and more towards their rent. Rehab interiors. I mean, that's always a common one across all properties that we look at, because we look at value add type of properties where you can improve the interiors and exteriors. And this is definitely one of them, and we'll go into that a little bit more in the slides here upcoming as well. Improving amenities. You want to be able to attract these younger profile, and so, what we did here was, dog parks, barbecue stations, and many others. And again, we'll get into those a little bit more. This next one, adding that one unit, it wasn't part of our original business plan, but it did become, part of the plan later on as we get into the slides. Deferred maintenance. That's, curb appeal, anything that's that you can see as obvious. You try to take care of right away. Chillers and boilers. During our due diligence, to see if we were going to buy the property, when we had the property under contract, we noticed that the chillers were older, and we went ahead and accounted for that.
Excellent. So yeah, kind of like Juan said, just because maybe this is like a C deal. And when we say C deal, it's like, okay, the vintage is a C, the condition is a C. A is going to be the sparkling new construction within the last few year, probably apartment complex in a nicer area. So they could be a C deal, like the C asset, but then it also could be like a C area. So just because you're buying a C deal in a C area doesn't mean people don't want or won't pay for nice amenities that maybe they would get in these nicer, way more expensive units. So what amenities did you add at this deal?
Yeah, because our target was that young professional avatar and profile. We knew that one of the main things that they liked was Wi-Fi and being able to work, from home and or the office if possible. And so we wanted to add, a Wi-Fi cafe, which is what we called it. We had an extra room in the leasing office area, and we added computers, we added a desk and chairs, as you can see there in the photo. And that was a good amenity. As we brought in potential residents or prospects, they were able to see that, and it was a big selling point. In addition to that, we added dog parks, grilling stations. So we actually specifically, there are two dog parks, one on the north side and one on the south side, and then two grilling stations as well on the north and south side. And those two grilling stations were actually next to the pools. We had two different pools as well. And then the laundry room refresh, was another one that we did, and we'll get into that in a future slide, where we discuss how we were able to improve those and what we did to cover the improvement, cover the cost of the improvement. As you can see there in the bottom slide, we also did covered parking. And it's always, there in Phoenix, it gets very, very hot. And so, it's a big amenity for residents. They go to their car and it's not as hot, inside their car when they take off the drive. And then valet trash, that's a big convenience feature to where, we hire a third party service company, and what they do is they provide the trash cans, and the resident, takes out the trash, and then they come back around, on scheduled dates during the week, and they're able to take their trash and throw it away for them and return that trash can. So it's a big convenience feature, and we were able to charge for that and get a spread there.
Yeah, I consider like adding a lot of amenities as you did here that's like a win-win, right? The tenants like it, and they'll pay for it, and then that improves the income of the property. So they're winning. They like their new home. You're winning. The income, the income is increasing in the property. So the business plan, like I said, every deal that we look at, has a baseline or going in business plan that is going to be subject to change as you own these assets for 3, 5, 7 years. And we're not going to kind of dig too deep into this, but I mean, you can see about $530,000 for the exteriors, about $800,000, so a total a little less than $1.4 million. One thing that sticks out to me here is the chiller and the boilers, for $250,000. I mean, why so much for those items?
Yeah, so during due diligence, we noticed that whenever we walked into that chiller room, and so for those of you that can't picture exactly what this is, it's just kind of think of your single family HVAC, right? You have your exterior condenser, and inside you have your evaporator. All together is your heating and AC system, right? And so for this property, it was an older property, and they had an older system, and the older system is called a chiller system. And what that does is it's a big giant piece of machinery. And what it does is it takes in water, it cools it or chills it, which is why it's called a chiller. Then it distributes it throughout the buildings via plumbing pipes, and then there's fans that blow it into the units. And so what we noticed whenever we walked the property was that there were a couple of compressors on the floor where the owner was, anytime he had trouble with one of the compressors, he was basically taking one from the floor and bolting it on and just swapping them over, right? And so we knew right then and there that it was going to be a potential problem. So we wanted to go ahead and account for it, and we actually ended up replacing the system, within the first couple of months after takeover. And this is not a system that we're they're on the shelves. You go to Home Depot and they just pick one up and throw in the back of a pickup truck. No, this is a giant system that has to be manufactured. So they have to receive payment before they start to assemble it and manufacture it. And then once it's ready to go, then they'll send it out to you. So it was something that we felt that it was very important for us to take care of because it's a basic necessity for residents.
Yeah, and if you're buying a chiller property or a property with a lot of boilers, you're not accounting for this, and 6 months into ownership, oh, now you have a $250,000 oops, that's really going to hurt you. So you definitely want to have enough funds to cover that. Okay, so you have the deal, you have the plan, now you have to buy the deal, right? And so debt is super important, probably one of the most important aspects of a deal. You could have a great deal in a great city, in a great pocket, and with a great business plan, but be in the wrong debt at the wrong time, and it can really affect the deal. So what type of debt did you put on this thing?
Sure. Yeah. So we opted for a Freddie Mac agency, which ended up being a 10-year, fixed at 3.7% interest rate. It was a $13.3 million loan, and we were able to achieve 80% loan to value with 4 years of interest only. And so, just real quick, without going into too much detail on the debt, it's very important that you try to best match your debt with your business plan, right? So if you're looking to hold for a longer term, then locking in a longer term debt can be the better option. If you're looking to hold a deal for 2 or 3 years or less than 5 years, then aligning and having a more flexible debt that where you can exit easier would be best. In this case, one thing to really think about is the prepayment penalty, right? So whenever you lock in a long-term debt, you're also locking in a long-term, fixed interest that the lender is looking to make, right? So it's 10 years, the lender's saying, okay, we'll lock this in. You're going to pay me X amount over the 10 years. But if you decide to sell early, you still owe me those 10 years worth, right? But it's also affected by the interest rate, the current interest rate when you're looking to sell. So in this case, if you have a higher interest rate environment, then it actually reduces your prepayment penalty. And if you have a lower interest rate environment when you're looking to sell, then it actually increases your prepayment penalty. And for us, when we were looking to sell, the interest rates were much higher. Therefore, our penalty was actually a negative. And so we had no prepayment penalty, and it ended up being a very good loan for our investors and for us as a team. But yes, as I mentioned, it's very important that you align your debt with your business plan.
Yeah, and I kind of want to just note something I'm seeing a lot on social media these days and in podcasts is, people are saying, oh, right now I'm only doing fixed debt, or I'm only doing this type of debt. And I mean, really the debt has to be matched up with the business plan, with the asset. What do you plan to do with it? Because, fixed is not always great. I mean, fixing a loan at 8% for 10 years right now doesn't feel too good to me. And especially if you want to exit in 3 years and you have a huge prepayment penalty after. So, you have to, I would say before you invest in any deal, you would want to know, hey, like, why are you choosing the debt for this deal? Like, give me your rationale. And the sponsorship team should have a very knowledgeable rationale, because this should be a decision they take lightly. They probably have multiple choices of debt to choose from, and they should know exactly why they chose the option that they chose.
Yeah. So let me add one more thing to that. I mean, that's a great point. And then, as a limited partner, also look into how and ask the sponsorship team, how much are you accounting for your prepayment penalty? Because a lot of times, it's very difficult to account for an exact amount, because A, you don't know when you're going to sell. B, you don't know what the interest rates are going to be like when you look to sell. So there's multiple different variables there, but they should have some sort of calculation to be able to determine how much your prepayment penalty can be, because that can be anywhere from a couple $100,000 to several million, right? And that affects your overall returns. So it's very important that you ask those questions and try to find out as clear as possible.
Okay, so challenges. Every deal is going to have challenge. If you buy a single family house for a rental, you could have challenges. If you buy a huge, skyscraper, you're going to have challenges. You buy an old deal, you buy a new deal. They're just different challenges, and your challenges may be due to the condition of the building, due to unforeseen circumstances or natural disasters, due to economic changes. But there are no challenge-free deals, and anyone that kind of pitches a deal that says, "Oh, this is going to be a walk in the park," it's a no-brainer. I would question that. And so, what were your challenges that you faced at the flats?
Yes, you're 100% right on. Every deal has its challenges. We were no different here with flats at 2030. Starting with COVID-19, I think every deal across the nation had some sort of challenges with that. Because with COVID-19, if you guys can remember, folks were staying at home, they weren't going to work. And if they're not going to work, then how are they making income, right? And so what that did is, you can see here in the second and third slides, is it increased our delinquency. And delinquency is basically money that you have not yet collected, right? So, a tenant owes on the first or the third, say their rent is $1,000 and they haven't paid yet and it's the 15th, well, they're delinquent $1,000. And so you account for that. And so our delinquency was increasing. And we were, trying to collect that. We would usually collect it between, by the first week, second week. And here we are in the third week, fourth week, is still trying to collect. And that was, sort of normal then. And our bad debt is more when a resident has already moved out. They either have been evicted or have just simply moved out and they didn't pay. Now you account for that on your bad debt. And then, because of COVID, supply chain issues is another challenge, right? We had material costs go up, we had labor costs go up. It was just a challenge in getting materials in general. And we had to deal with that. And that was throughout 2020 and 2021. And then we had plumbing repairs that we did not account for. Why we had these? Well, I mean, it's a 1971 build, and for this property, we had cast iron pipes, and what happens over so many years, and this is what 50 years, it begin to deteriorate. And in this case, with the consistent water going through it a day in, day out for so many years, it starts to eat into that metal, and they eventually begin to leak. And we would fix one leak, and then it was great from that viewpoint. But then it created another leak because of pressures, and so we just kept having different leaks, and that definitely put a challenge into us having to juggle regular repair and maintenance with additional maintenance that we had to do at the property. Another one that we had was a roof leak, and this was actually a leak that could have been avoided, but when we came across it, it was a minor leak, and we went ahead and approved it. We hired a general contractor to go ahead and take care of it, but they couldn't get out there until another couple of weeks. And during those couple of weeks, there was a strong rainstorm, and that it created some leaks, and we had some down units from there because of that. So multiple challenges that we went through, but it just to be transparent with everyone that every deal out there will have its challenges, and if an operator or a sponsor says that a deal is going to be easy to run and operate, then it's something to question, because there's things you can control and things you cannot control in every deal.
Okay, so this is probably the biggest challenge of them all, but you got woken up one morning and you got the birthday gift of a lifetime. Tell us about the story.
Yeah. So birthday gift. I mean, this is my family on the left side, my three boys and my wife. We were actually in South Padre Island for vacation, right? And this was in August, August 28th to be exact, because that happens to be my birthday. But yes, it was about 4 o'clock in the morning whenever I received a call from my property manager, Maria. She calls me, and I look at my phone and I'm like, okay, why is she calling me? Maybe it's an accident. If she calls again, then I'll make sure to pick up. And sure enough, that call was ended. She calls right away. I pick up, and then she's like, hey Juan, sorry to wake you up. But we have an emergency. And so I asked her, like, what exactly is going on? Well, we have a fire at the property, And so my very first question was, is everybody okay? Are the residents okay? Staff? And she's like, yes, all the residents have been evacuated. Everybody has been safe. And so that was great. So my second question was, okay, what are we doing to put out the fire? And she said, well, the firefighters out there, if I remember correctly, there's about 20, a little over 20 firefighters that were there, and plus the media. She happened to be there on staff on site as well. And so, long story short, we were able to put out the fire, but it did leave a lot of damages. We'll show some slides here in the next, some more photos in the next slides, but it caused damages to the roof, obviously, and then the firefighters putting out the fire with the water, then it is like water damage, and then smoke damage. Not to mention, financially, with those residents being evacuated. So multiple challenges all sort of in one there.
It's crazy. Keep going, man.
Yeah, so this is the fire building. So this building had 24 units. We later were able to convert it was sort of a 2-bedroom unit into 2 separate 1-bedroom units, and make it actually 237 units at the end rather than 236. But yes, we had challenges at the very beginning because we had to go through the insurance process and the claim process, and that was about 5 months. And we ended up hiring an insurance adjuster to help us, with the process and represent us. And for those of you who have filed the claim before, you'll know that an insurance company, they'll pay the claim, but they'll try to pay as little as possible. And so we hired an adjuster who has much more experience than we do in dealing with the estimates and all the little costs, and they were able to really go through it with a fine-tooth comb and find out all the little charges that can be added and really try to maximize the proceeds for us. Ended up being a $1.3 million claim at the end, it took about 20 months total from the time we had the fire to the time that we had the certificate of occupancy to be able to lease the units. So it was a pretty lengthy process. We were hoping to get it done sooner, but there's challenges that we faced throughout the process because of COVID and city of Phoenix and those type of things. But in the process, we also had just under 100 units or 100 residents that were displaced. And why 100 residents if you only had 24 units? Well, there's multiple people at each unit, right? Family members that were also displaced. And then loss of income, right? That's another challenge that if you don't have the proper insurance broker and you don't have the team to be able to review your insurance documents when you sign up for insurance, then this can really hurt if you don't have the loss of income payments. Fortunately for us, we had that, and we were covered for any lost rent from that building throughout the process.
Okay, and you can just keep going there.
Yeah. So you can see here in the photos. I mean, it just the damage that was caused by the fire. These are just a couple of the photos, and you can keep going, Ryan. Yeah. So here's more, right? You can see here where half of the roof is missing right there in the middle, right? On the left side with the firefighters, and that was the aftermath. On the right side, you can see where the team began to really clean up the building. There's a lot of debris, and there's a lot of just personal belongings and trash really that's left behind. And so you have to clean that up, and you can see all the smoke damage there. Right here on the left side, there's more smoke, and we begin to really cover the area, board up the windows and the doors, so we wouldn't have anybody going in there where it's unsafe. And then you can see on the right photo where we begin to really get into just going down to the studs and clean the units out as much as possible. And then these photos, You can see on the left side where we have a fence up now, and the property is much cleaner than what it was. On the right side, we begin to make the repairs to the actual roof, and replace it, and it just beginning to look a lot more clean. And then I'll let you take or start this slide, but yeah, we had the fire challenge, but we still have to continue our business plan, our original business plan, with throughout the property that we had.
Yeah, it's so yeah, tell me what you did here.
Yeah. So what we did here was, on the left side, we had, the original look of the leasing office. And our goal all the time is to improve curb appeal, improve the path that the resident or the prospect is going to take to lease a unit. And in this case, they had to go through this leasing office, and we felt that it could be much improved. And we did so. We felt that we did so, and with actually little capex spent here. But we added a new monument sign there. We improved the landscaping, the painting, the yellow and the grays were painted. The fascia board there up top was also replaced, and just those little changes. Even the decals on the windows were installed. But just those little changes made a huge difference in the look of the leasing office, and just made it much more welcoming and attractive, to the property. And in this photo, we, as I mentioned in one of the previous slides, one of our goals was to improve the amenities, and obviously having washer and dryers at the property is not only a necessity but also an amenity. And in this case, we actually renegotiated the CSC contract, and CSC is basically a major service provider of appliances throughout the country. And we renegotiated the contract, and they gave us new equipment, and then in addition to that, they gave us a bonus, a check, upon signing the contract. And with that bonus check, we were able to get do the flooring, do the paint, lighting, a lot of those items in these laundry facilities. There's actually 2 laundry facilities, and we were able to address both of them with that the bonus check that we received. And then you can see here, this is curb appeal, from Indian School Road, which is a major road with a lot of traffic. We did some exterior painting, just cleaned it up a little bit, then replaced the monument sign. The monument sign was basically just a more of a refresh, but with a new logo. But it made a huge difference, right away. And then also some fresh landscaping, as you can see there with those trees.
Yeah, let me look so much better.
And so here, right? So here we have a classic unit, right? So, and this is actually one of the better looking classic units, believe it or not, right? It's you can see there, it's worn, it's outdated, it's not really appealing at all. But then you can see on the right side is our refreshed, our upgraded unit. This actually is one of our model units, but in the fire building. And you can see there we replaced the cabinets, replaced the backsplash, plumbing fixtures, sink, appliances, lighting. We did the flooring. We did it all in this unit, right? And across the property, we actually did 4 units like this. But you can see here, like, just a level in the quality between the two, and why somebody would be attracted to the unit, and why somebody would be willing to pay, a premium for the unit. Just a much better, type of unit.
Yeah, and then I like how you almost use the fire. It's a disaster. Your capex budget now has ballooned from about 1.4 to about 2.7, right? So almost doubles the capex. So you're dealing with this major project here that took 20 months. You're dealing with your business plan that also was scheduled to probably go over 24 to 36 months. But this just looking at your capex budget, like before you actually closed in the deal, you had about 5,000 allocated per unit. And especially at today's prices, but I think even probably during COVID prices, this is not a $5,000 rehab in this unit. I mean, this is very nice. I mean, brand new shaker cabinets, just probably the cabinets, appliances, backsplash, and floor alone cost over $5,000, especially today. So, you were able to really take it up to like, maybe you were going to go from this classic to like nicer, but probably not this level with the recessed lighting and everything. And so you really were able to prove like, hey, look, I can achieve these rent deltas with this product. So the next group, saw that as attractive when they bought it, as we'll discuss later.
Yeah, and so just a continuation, right? Left side being the classic, right side being the upgraded. You can see there. One of the things that stands out here is number one is the huge tiles that we added to the shower, right? Versus the small little cubes that were in the original. In addition to that was the vanity, right? The hard surface quartz countertops that we added also in the kitchen. Just an updated mirror. Lighting. So just a much cleaner look and something to where, you have to picture yourself, would I live here, right? And that's the type of product that you want to be able to provide to residents.
Yeah, 100%. I always ask myself that, like if I'm gonna spend money on a rehab, I want to say, okay, like would I live here at some stage in my life? I mean, I want to live in a nice place, a nice clean place, and definitely I would live in the new product. Yeah, so let's talk about like what you achieved for these new rehabs.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, we have done 40 total rehabs out of 237 units, right? So 40 total rehabs consisted of 6 studios and 34 one-bedroom units, right? And then you can see the breakdown on the rent delta that we achieved, with the numbers on the left being, when we first acquired the property, and the numbers on the right being when we sold the property. So the studios started off at 664, and we were able to almost double them, right, to 1190. And then the ones starting off at 793 average and going to 1400, also almost doubling. And you can see the delta there, like anywhere between 526 to 607, throughout those units that we renovated. So a huge delta, huge value that we were able to improve on, and we'll show more slides on the actual what that means from a dollar perspective, what that means from a return perspective for investors.
Yeah, and think of this as like a whole, like, you didn't just achieve, like, you couldn't leave the outside looking all old and dated with no amenities, and some like, young professional that's looking to live in a nice up and coming area in Phoenix is not going to have it. You did the work, right? You painted the outside, you refreshed the office, you refreshed the laundry rooms, you added all these amenities, and you have these nice units. Okay, yeah, I'll pay $600 more for that.
Exactly. It has to all come together, right? Amenities, exterior, interior. It has to all come together and to be able to attract somebody. Other income streams. So as we mentioned at the beginning, RUBS is just utility bill back, right? And so this is an all bills paid property. One of the low hanging fruits that we saw towards the beginning was really building back for the residents. And just to make things easy here, you can see there on every single calculation, there's a 0.04, and for reference, that's a 4 cap, 4 capitalization rate. And what that means, it just to kind of compare the single family. And single family, if you have 2 or 3 houses, 2 of them sold for 400,000, and then one of them, you bought it for 200,000, you can put some money into it and improve it. But the maximum you're probably going to get is around 400,000, because the other 2 comps also sold for 400,000, right? So with commercial real estate and apartments, specifically, it's a little different, right? So for every dollar that you add, you're able to divide it by this cap rate of 4%, because that's what the market was at that time, and that's market specific. But you're able to divide it by that cap rate, and then it just multiplies that number. So in this case, we're able to increase or build back $30,000 in utilities per month, and multiply by 12 months, divided by 4 cap. That's $9 million that we were able to just increase in value to the property, just RUBS alone. In addition to that, we had other income sources, such as pet fees, damages, late fees, recovery, and then valet track, covered parking. And you can see there, each one of them, 15 million, 497,000, 180,000, and then that additional unit that from that fire building that was two. I guess it was a 2-bedroom unit that we converted to 2 separate 1-bedroom units. It's an addition of $1,400 a month times 12 divided by a 4 cap. That's 420,000 additional towards the value of the property that we were able to achieve.
Yeah, I mean, and this is classic forced appreciation, like Juan said, is like you can have market appreciation, in which commercial real estate does appreciate it in a market. So you have that natural market appreciation as well, but this is forced appreciation. Like you implemented a business plan to push these numbers, and like I said, I mean, this is you actually in this deal. I think is so cool that you actually increase the value more from the fees than you did the rehabs, because you only rehabbed 40, so you left a lot for the next group or for the next buyer to do, but you really boosted. I mean, just like $15 million valuation just from adding fees. This just really didn't really cost you much to do.
Yeah, I mean, that just goes to show like it's the power of like of really multiplying and taking advantage of the low hanging fruit that you have there, right? So in this case, we saw that and we were really able to get a good return for those other income sources.
Yeah, and a lot of these are win-wins, right? I mean, maybe someone might not, love paying for their water, but the new tenant profile is going to be used to paying for their water. You put in new
Correct.
dog parks, that's going to attract people with pets because you have a dog park. Okay, now I'm going to charge you pet rent, right? And they want their dog to live there, but that increased the value of your property. People don't want to walk to the dumpster, right? And so, yeah, you're basically have a third party come in. This doesn't cost you any work at all, and you profit off of it, and it increases the value of your property by 500,000. So that is the great thing about commercial real estate.
Correct. Yeah. Very good.
Yeah. So a forced depreciation again. I mean, you can see these numbers, right? A takeover in year 1, it's $100,000. At sale 3 years later, over 600,000. The total income, 1.9 million versus 2.8 million at sale. And this is only with doing 40 rehabs, right? So there's a lot more income can be pushed from this property. And really, the big number is net operating income right here, this NOI. And, that is, the only way to move NOI is to either increase income, which was done drastically in this situation, or decrease expenses. And, especially right now during a time of very high inflation, expenses are not decreasing on any of these deals. I mean, and if you have a drastic cut in expenses in your model, I mean, most likely that's not going to be super realistic, because I mean, it's maintenance guys are commanding super high salaries, so just your payroll is really high versus 2 or 3 years ago. Utilities are definitely high right now, right? Everything, materials are high, so we would never calculate that we're going to have 0% expense growth in any deal.
Correct. Yeah, and I mean, as you mentioned, so NOI is your total income minus your expenses, and that's how you come up with the NOI number, right? The goal for us every single time for every property we look at, every opportunity that we look at, is always how do we maximize the NOI? How do we grow it as high as possible, whether that is increasing income through various ways that, like we discussed, or decreasing expenses if there's any way to do so. And there are actually ways to do so, right? Like electric, right? We can add LED lighting. We can improve the plumbing. Maybe there's ways that you can reduce payroll. There's multiple different things that you can do. Any leaks that you have the property you can take care of. But at the very bottom, right? I mean, we purchased it for 16 million and change, and we were able to sell it for more than double, right? And that's just the power of really increasing the NOI, and that therefore increases the value of the property significantly.
Okay, so in commercial real estate, you're going to hear a lot, or just in real estate in general, is meat on the bone. And what meat on the bone is like, okay, I implemented this plan. I saw meat on the bone, so that's why this deal attracted me, right? It's housing tenant, I can re-tenant it, I can do rehabs, I can implement all these billbacks and fees and amenities, and that's a lot of meat on the bone for me. But when we buy a deal, we want to make sure that there's meat on the bone for when we were ready to exit. This is an attractive buy for another buyer. And so, yeah, tell us about the meat on the bone here at Flats.
Yeah. So immediately left on the bone basically is what opportunity does a new buyer have for them, right? And in this case, because we only did 40, we still had 197 units that were available for the next buyer to also renovate, right? And the beauty of this is that we were able to create a blueprint for the buyer. We were able to prove out the business plan and say, hey, look, if you do X, Y, Z, then you can achieve those same results at a minimum, right? If they were to take it to a higher level and improve it even further, from the property exterior, from amenity standpoint, then they can even achieve possibly even higher, right? We're able to get, $500 times 12, or $197 times $500 is what they could achieve. Maybe they can achieve higher. Maybe they can achieve 550 or 600, right? And so then you divide it by a cap rate, that's $20 million that they can have, right? And as far as their upside. So what additional, that we have left for a new buyer in addition to the interior units? Well, parking, right? We only did 20 spots. They're able to go in there and add another 20 to 40 spots if they wanted to, right? And then charge, an additional 30, 40, $50 per parking spot. Add washer and dryer connections to the units, interiors. Add a tech package, which consists of a thermostat or smart locks, and or maybe create an amenity fee, right? That includes a tech package. So there's multiple different scenarios where this buyer looked at and really felt that there was a lot of upside remaining in this deal. And maybe they take it and they have 197 potential units that they can renovate. Maybe they only do 97 units and leave 100 units for the next guy's deal, right? So, so that's what they look at possibly, and that's the value add that's left for them as well.
Okay, so now everyone's here for the returns, and no one's investing in real estate just to do deals. I mean, you're looking to diversify your income. That's how I started into it, and I was like, okay, I had these these large 401ks, but I was basically 99% in 401ks and 403bs and IRAs. And so if you're looking for a diversification play, you're here to say, okay, like what kind of returns can I get in certain commercial real estate deals? So tell us about your returns.
Yeah, on the left side, we have the original projected returns, and sort of like the business plan. And then on the right side, we had what the actual returns were. So we originally planned to hold it for 5 years, but ended up holding it for just a little over 3 years. The original returns were 104% total. So if you invested 100 grand, then you would get $104,000, plus your 100 grand back, right? And then we ended up returning 259,000 or 259% total return. The average annual return, original projections was 20%, and luckily we're able to do it 86% for our investors. IRR is basically, without going into too much detail, it's a measure of the time, the time value of money, right? So what that takes into account is time. That's your biggest component there, right? So a dollar today is worth much more than a dollar in 20 years from now, right? And the other example I can give you to simplify it is, if I can give you $100,000 return in 2 years, that's much better than giving you that same return in 10 years. So a higher IRR is a much better thing. Our original projection was 17.5%. And we were able to achieve a 51% IRR. And then reversion cap, right? So to simplify, higher reversion cap also translates to a lower value, and then on the flip side of that is a lower reversion cap translates to a higher value. Our projection was that we were going to exit at 6.5% reversion cap, and in reality, we exited at about 3.8 reversion cap. And so what does that mean? What does that mean? As Ryan mentioned, everybody's here for this exactly, right? I mean, we invest in real estate because we want to get a return. There's a lot more benefits like taxes, but overall, you invest into a deal because of the returns. If you would have invested $100,000 into this deal, then you would have received a total of $359,000 return to you. So it ended up being a great, awesome deal. a home run. And we're excited to be able to have perform for our investors.
Yeah, I mean, and this is your natural appreciation, right? So you had a lot of things work against you at some point. Older property. As an older property, you had COVID, you had the labor shortages, you had a building burned down, you had $400,000 in plumbing repair, but you continued with your business plan. You implemented everything that you said you were going to implement. You got the building back up. You forced appreciation, but then also this reversion cap. The market was high flying in Phoenix over the last 3 years. So you took advantage of that natural appreciation. So even though you got, I guess you got bloodied and battered during the process, you forced appreciation, you took care of market appreciation, you took advantage of it. I mean, and then, it ended up being a home run.
Yeah, that's right. Every deal has its challenges, and we were able to get through those challenges at the end, be able to perform for our investors.
Well, awesome. Well, hey, we don't want to take too much of your time. We really value you being with us today and watching the recording. We're here for you. Me as the director of investor relations, I'm a phone call away. If you're currently invested in one of our deals, and you have any questions about that deal, feel free to go to our website, www.genwealthcapital.com. You can access my calendar there, schedule a call at any time, email us, email myself, email Juan, email just the general email at investors@genwealthcapital.com. We'll answer your email extremely quick. If you have, questions about future opportunities, we're here for you. If you have questions just in general, or you want a copy of this, webinar, which we will send out the recording, or if you want just a copy of the slideshow, we're going to upload the slideshow to our website. So we're here for you, man. I guess we want to be friends with our investors. Our friends are our investors, and our investors are our friends. That's one of our mottos. And so, we're a phone call away, and that's kind of what differentiates us from other firms, is that we're boots on the ground. We're running the deal. We know the ins and outs of each deal, and we're happy to explain that to you along the way so you understand it as well. But we appreciate you again, and thank you, and have a great day.
Thank you.